Welcome to the All-America Night of Entertainment and Celebration. I'm Jillian Youngblood. I'm the Executive Director of Civic Genius. We are a program of the National Civic League. We work to rebuild civic culture through everyday opportunities to learn and engage. We run a bunch of programs designed to create better public policy, strengthen relationships between government and the people they represent. This includes all kinds of things like citizen assemblies, fun workshops where people solve local challenges together, easy opportunities to build your civic muscle. It also includes things like a giant board game that we lug around the country. It includes a workshop that we designed with a Hollywood reality show producer. And since I live in Seattle, it includes owning 36 plush sockeye salmon, for example, that we bring to events all over. Is the Seattle delegation here? Where's the judges? Take note. Is the Seattle I was going to do a whole thing. I had a gag for you. Well, somebody's going to. Could we do like a Pike Place fish market? Okay. Amazing. So we do a lot of stuff like that. It's fun. I hope you'll come find me if you'd like to talk about it some more. We hope you've enjoyed all the finalist presentations and workshops so far. It has been such an inspiring day. This showcase is incredible. I love hearing about all these amazing community innovations, all of this civic leadership happening all across the country. Tonight we have a very memorable program ahead. We'll begin by inducting a community into the All-America City Hall of Fame. That is followed by the presentation of the All-America Leader Award, and then we are honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Michael Smith, the new president and CEO of Eckerd Connects and the former CEO of AmeriCorps. And to close out the evening, we'll celebrate the rich culture and spirit of our communities with this year's Cultural Entertainment Showcase. Thank you all for being a part of this special night. But first, we have a community to recognize. The National Civic League created the All-America City Hall of Fame Award in 2019 to celebrate the ongoing work of past All-America cities. The award recognizes communities that have implemented a community-driven initiative that resulted in significant local impact due to community engagement. And I am so excited to present the 2025 All-America City Hall of Fame Award to Lakewood, Colorado.
Quite the crowd. I love the energy. If you're available Monday night, we could use you at City Council. Good evening, everybody. It is an incredible honor to be up here this evening accepting this award for our Sustainable Neighborhood Program. This is a grassroots program that was created for and built by Lakewood residents to help them establish more sustainable lifestyles and reduce our overall ecological footprint. From the time that the program was on the drawing board, it has been based on the simple principle of having residents, these fine people, and many more behind the scenes, directing how they want to accomplish sustainability. This approach is the very definition of grassroots organizing and the highest form of civic engagement. Our dedicated residents involved, they're the decision makers, the action takers, the community builders who have designed, shaped, and executed the program that exists in each and every one of their distinctly different neighborhoods. What one neighborhood does may not be the same as another. They get to choose the program, and it empowers neighbors to organize events and workshops themselves in a way and in areas that they personally deem to be important to the topic of sustainability. Years ago, I was told that members in our community really fundamentally want to do the right thing for our environment, but not everybody knows what those steps are. One of my favorite things with the Sustainable Neighborhoods program is that it helps one neighbor learn from another as we are all working to address sustainability and climate resiliency in our community. Our volunteers up here are leading by example. We have just a fraction of the residents that are involved with this program here today. We actually, in a city of 156,000 people, we have 10 neighborhoods that are involved within this program, and it's been going on for 10 years. Thank you. So when we add that up, what that looks like now is over 100,000 residents that have been involved in one way or another in a workshop, a program, you name it, all kinds of things that have gone on across our city. And the activities go beyond just recycling events and community gardens. Others include how do we reduce food waste, wildlife photo exhibits, clothing swaps, my personal favorite. Who needs buy nothing when you have a neighborhood that does it, right? So trash cleanups, educational programming around water-wise gardening. We are in Colorado, after all. We need to be smart about what we're planting in our yards. And cutting energy use. Lots of different topics that come back to that idea of, I want to do better, but I'm not necessarily sure how. This gives our neighbors that are trying to figure that out a way to do it and to learn from each other. And activities also include those that build a sense of community. That one has been also a very important part of this program, and that is things like board game nights, or we had a very heartwarming project that was a chalk sidewalk project that was designed to bring people together. And not the least of which, even literacy programs provided in schools with newly arriving immigrants. While I add, there's lots to going on with this program, I will say, what is the output of this program is no small potatoes. By coming together, 3 of our neighborhoods years ago created an electronic recycling program that has annually brought in 15 tons of electronics. And I just learned this year it was 27. Can we give them a hand for that? Beyond addressing sustainability, this program embodies building a sense of community like none that I have ever seen. In fact, I heard from one neighborhood that at a time when their neighborhood association was struggling for participation, when they got involved with the Sustainable Neighborhoods program, it brought their residents' involvement back to life with new voices and new faces. The impact of this program has also literally become nationwide. What began as a pilot program in one neighborhood in Lakewood, Colorado, has grown to a network of cities called the Sustainable Neighborhood Network. That includes cities and towns right here in Colorado. Denver is one, and Wheat Ridge. But also, we've got Sedona, Arizona, and Portland, Maine, that are doing their own now. Lakewood's motto is full of possibilities, and this program is living proof of that, and living proof of the great work that can come out of partnership. Partnership between our residents and our staff and our neighborhoods. I'd like to share a huge thank you to all of our residents who have contributed to this powerful program. And to the staff who have been involved from its genesis through today. And thank you so much to the All-American Cities judges for awarding us this wonderful honor. We are grateful for the recognition, and it motivates us to continue striving to live up to the values that this award represents. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to you all. And I know what's going on this week, and I'll say good luck to each and every one of you. Thank you.
All right, let's have one more round of applause for Lakewood. And now we turn our attention to this year's All-America Leader Award. This honor was created to celebrate individuals who exemplify the power of civic engagement, people who lead efforts that bring their communities together and make a lasting impact. Whether they're residents, business, faith leaders, public officials, this award recognizes that anyone can be a catalyst for change. Last year, we were honored and deeply saddened to present this award posthumously to Terry Caldwell Johnson, a League board member and remarkable leader who embodied the values at the heart of this recognition: inclusiveness, innovation, collaboration, equity, and a deep commitment to community. In tribute to her extraordinary legacy, we proudly renamed the award in her honor. Tonight, we are thrilled to present the first Terry Caldwell Johnson All-America Leader Award to Tracy Madden Hennessy, who spearheaded the creation of New Britain's Early Childhood Business Incubator, an innovative initiative that empowers Latina women to become childcare entrepreneurs while expanding access to quality infant and toddler care in underserved communities. Please welcome Tracy Madden Hennessy.
Good evening, everybody. As Jillian indicated, I'm Tracy Madden Hennessy. I'm also the CEO for YWCA New Britain in Connecticut. And New Britain is a two-time All-America City Award winner. So I've been where you've been, and I wish all of you luck, because I know what hard work it is for you to get here and get this recognition, and I know how hard it is to go the whole route. So good luck to all of you. Your work in climate justice has really been inspirational to read, so thank you. And thank you, members of my community who nominated me, and members of the award selection committee who chose me as a recipient of the Terry Caldwell Johnson All-American Leader Award. Terry was the embodiment of an inspirational leader for her community of Des Moines, Iowa. I can only hope that my own community commitment and leadership reflects her dedication. I was lucky. I found my calling early in my career and have been working at the YWCA for more than 40 years. And so my heart is in New Britain. New Britain is located in central Connecticut, outside of the state's capital, Hartford. It's been an industrial powerhouse in the past. But like many cities of its kind in the Northeast, most large manufacturing moved away, taking jobs and opportunities with them, leaving residents struggling to find sustainable wages. So I see you in Chelsea, Massachusetts, and Akron, Ohio, because I know what your communities have gone through. In our community, more than 85% of the children in our schools qualify for free and reduced lunch. And the annual family income is about half that of the state of Connecticut. A diverse community and a gateway for immigration, more than 58 languages are spoken in the school district. The YWCA has been a leader in our city's early childhood collaborative, which has a great deal of experience addressing issues of literacy, chronic absenteeism, and early learning. It was this collaborative work that led to the second of our city's All-America City Award in 2017. And related to this initiative, we created a childcare business incubator that began as an innovative way to address the shortage of childcare in our city. In New Britain, for children under age 3, there's only been enough care available for every 11 out of 100 children. This makes it difficult for women to go to work and support their families. In 2017, I was part of a group of New Britain early childhood leaders who developed the concept of an incubator space when it became clear to us that family childcare was a more sustainable way to offer childcare and education to very young children under age 3. A survey of city parents indicated that most preferred it for their children. Focus groups of women and existing education and training programs, however, indicated they rented and would not get landlord permission to run a business from their house. They didn't have the financial capital to start a child care business, and they didn't know how to navigate the licensing and regulation process. It was clear to me and others that a simple family child care training program was not enough. The barrier of place had to be addressed to make expansion of care possible. Access to capital for business startup and support navigating both business regulation and child care regulatory processes were needed. We envisioned an incubator as a shared location where multiple individuals would operate their own separate child care businesses out of a dedicated classroom assigned to them while sharing indoor gross motor and outdoor play space. A hybrid, this model didn't fit existing child care regulations. I worked with multiple leaders of at the community, state, and legislative levels to move legislation over a 3-year period to get the approvals we needed. When approved, I was asked to shepherd this project for our community. The YWCA opened the first incubator in 2024 with 4 classrooms assigned to independently licensed businesses whose owners participated in a 5-month early childhood development and business management education program. Currently, our providers are serving more than 18 children and are part of Connecticut's subsidized child care network, making the care they provide affordable to families while providing them a sustainable living wage. They'll be able to stay in this shared space up to 5 years, but we've already been working on plans with them to make the transition to their own independent space. One partnership with our NeighborWorks affiliate is testing the rehabilitation of a distressed local property to create a home that is both set up as a business and a family child care space and can be purchased by one of our providers or by an aspiring family child care operator outside the incubator. Our program has become the prototype for up to 19 others in the state of Connecticut. The second opened in a neighboring community in the spring of 2025. We've also become leaders in a movement that is inspiring incubator sites in other states. thank you for this recognition of my lifelong work in the Civic Center, as well as my effort in innovating in early childhood. It means a great deal to me, my community in New Britain, and the YWCA. So thank you.
I'm sorry, can we just have one more round of applause for Tracy? That's incredible. Leaders like Tracy, along with countless organizations across the country, are helping to reshape our democracy, making it more resilient, more equitable, and more inclusive. Our keynote speaker tonight, and one of your All-America City Award jurors, so pay close attention, is the embodiment of service and civic leadership. Michael D. Smith is the recently named president and CEO of Eckerd Connects, a national nonprofit supporting youth, families, and job seekers. From 2021 to 2025, Michael served as CEO of AmeriCorps, leading 200,000 members and volunteers in 40,000 communities nationwide. During his tenure, he championed equity, impact, and national unity through service. Michael has also led the My Brother's Keeper Alliance and Youth Opportunity Programs at the Obama Foundation, and served in the White House as Special Assistant to the President and Senior Director for MBK. Earlier in his career, he directed the Social Innovation Fund, managing over $700 million in public-private investments and launching major initiatives like the Pay for Success grant program. He's also held leadership roles at the Case Foundation, the Beaumont Foundation, Power Up, and the Boys and Girls Clubs. And he got his start in public service working for Congressman Richard Neal. Please join me in welcoming tonight's keynote speaker, Michael Smith.
You're only doing that because I'm a judge. How you feeling, everybody? When I say fired up, you say ready to serve. Fired up? Ready to serve. Fired up? Ready to serve. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said anybody can be great because anybody can serve. Anybody can be great because anybody can serve. Anybody can be great because anybody can serve. And we saw service in this room all day today. Service has always been and still is the heart of this country. And I don't know about you, it has been at the heart of my family. For any one of you in this room that has had the opportunity to serve, which I now know is everybody, there is a little secret that we all know, that by helping others, you help yourself. And we have the data to back that up. President Biden's Surgeon General said that volunteering is the prescription for America's loneliness epidemic, as well as the youth mental health crisis that we were facing. We know that volunteers have higher odds of finding a job, they live longer and healthier lives, and they have lower rates of depression. And if that wasn't enough to convince you, a recent survey found that more than 80% of those who have volunteered in the past year would be more willing to date a person that they met volunteering than through an online dating site. And if you've been on an online dating site, you know why that is true. So, the other thing that I find so interesting, because I spend so much time with young people, especially with our AmeriCorps members and volunteers, people always ask me what I think about this incoming generation. They're worried about your mental health. They worried about whether or not you know how to communicate with one another, because young people, when we go into the restaurants, we're kind of talking to each other, and you guys are kind of doing this and going, ha, ha, ha. But they're worried about that. They're worried, are you spending too much time on TikTok, that you might be apathetic or narcissistic. They're worried about whether or not you will serve yourselves or step up to serve. But when I look around this room at what I saw today, what I've seen all across this country, I am not worried, I am excited, and I cannot wait to turn the baton over to this next generation. I think about when COVID-19 was ravaging this nation and we didn't know what was going to come next. Young people not only had to figure out how to do this whole school thing online, they also said, you know what? We're going to set up mutual aid networks. We're going to make sure that we cut the grass of our elderly neighbors who are worried, or we're going to go to the grocery store so we can get those supplies for them. During the same time, after George Floyd was killed and we were all worried and facing this racial awakening in the United States of America, young people said, I am coming to the streets, I am gonna protest, I am gonna fight, and you know what, you're not gonna placate me, you are gonna change policy. That was led by the young people of this nation. I also saw a generation that was saddled with the effects of hundreds of years of neglect of our climate, but instead of ignoring it and saying, we didn't do it, you did it, you said, we're gonna turn this thing into action. We're gonna take climate anxiety, we are going to take climate action, and we are gonna forget what you did, and we are going to fix what you left for us. So history has shown us that time and time again, that it is the curious, it is the undaunted, it is the undefeated who lead the charge for change. And in every decade, through our greatest challenges and triumphs, young people have led the way. So if you are a young person, I want you to stand up. And if you have gray in your beard like I do, then that doesn't count. Young people, stand up and let us celebrate you. You know, I said this a little bit earlier. Y'all, I remember being at my Boys and Girls Club conferences. I remember being at National Crime Prevention Council conferences, your age. Y'all, it goes by quick. And so what I want to say is remember who you are in a room with today. Stay in touch with them. And for us older folks, let's continue to clear a pathway for them and turn over the baton and give them the chance to lead today and not waiting until tomorrow. You know, when I think about my story and how service changed my life, I think about the fact that I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. What's up, Massachusetts? You know, I grew up to parents who were teen parents. Both my mom and dad were 16 years old when I was born. We didn't have any money, very little money. We were on welfare at times. And I saw my community go from a working class neighborhood in the 1980s and 90s to a neighborhood that had way too much violence, that had to deal with the crack epidemic. I saw young people in my community who ended up in jail or in the grave, including my own brother Tori, who was shot and killed when he was 27 years old. And when I think about the reason that I could go from a kid that depended on welfare to working in the White House and standing before you today, there are only 3 reasons that is possible. One is due to family. You know, there was a politician once who said, you know, poor kids don't see people working. And I was like, what? They haven't come to my neighborhood. My grandmother was working 2 jobs and then came home and put some food on the stove and make sure that we could eat. What I saw in my family were people who gave their last dimes, who didn't have a whole lot, but made sure that everybody in our community had something, including starting within our own family. I'm here not only because of my family, but because of faith. I grew up in the Pentecostal church. Can I get an amen? God is good, and all the time. All right, that's what I know. And if you know the Pentecostal church, you know we are in church all the time. And so that was part of my mother's strategy. She was like, this boy is not going to have any time because he is going to be in church 3 times on Sunday, then Monday young people meeting, Tuesday missionary meeting, Wednesday Bible class, and don't let there be a revival because then you are never going home. And so there was that community that surrounded me in faith and love, Sunday school teachers and deacons that made sure they had my back. But when I think about the career that I had, it was because of this place called the Family Center Boys and Girls Club. There was faith. The Family Center Boys and Girls Club on 100 Acorn Street. My mom sent me to the Boys and Girls Club because she said she was looking for cheap daycare. Remember, this was a teen mom. She didn't know what she was looking for, but she knew she needed some cheap daycare. But she got a whole lot more than that. She got another village for her son. She got extra aunts and uncles, people that loved me, people that lift me up, people that kept me in line and were another extra set of eyes. She got people that were not looking to get rich, not looking to get famous, not looking to be in the news, but who believed in that idea that our neighbors' children are all of our children, and they were going to make sure that kids like me, kids like you, were going to be able to dream dreams bigger than we could ever imagine. So today is a celebration of those values because I know I share it with all of you. A faith, a family, for your family center boys and girls clubs. I remember a couple years before the Honorable John Lewis died, I remember having the opportunity to hear him speak, and he said, you know, people come up to me all the time, and they say, Congressman, I am standing on your shoulders. And he said, you know what I tell those people? I say, get off my shoulders and get to work. So today we are celebrating that get to work, that get into good trouble kind of work. And we saw that on full display today, and I'm about to get in trouble because I'm about to name some names, but we saw that in the volunteers that were telling folks not to throw away styrofoam cups in Akron. We saw that in the hundreds of residents of Albuquerque that helped develop not only the nation's first J40 committee, but the first nation's J40 plan. We saw that in the more than 700 participants in Austin Civilian Conservation Corps clearing 500 pounds of trash a week. We saw that in the 150 volunteers in the Bowling Creek watershed planting 1,300 native plants. We saw that in Palante, in Chelsea, with 60 trees that were planted. We saw that in the 8,500 trees that were planted in Del Rey. We saw that in the 11 tons of clothes that were collected by volunteers so that they would not go in landfills right here in Denver. We saw that in the volunteers that were taking care of little green libraries in Inglewood and transforming the Depot Prairie Park. We saw that in the 1,200 volunteers that gave 800 hours and 574 cleanups in Hampton, Virginia. We saw that in the 10,000 teens that have participated in Summer of Service programs in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and have become leaders of today. We saw that in the volunteers who come together to paint murals to honor Kinston's, North Carolina's rich history. We saw that in the 300 volunteers that have kept the Johnny Appleseed Farm alive in Leominster. And we saw that in the neighbors that went door to door in Memphis to reduce lead exposure in 2,000 homes. Service not only allows us to solve problems, but it allows us to find ourselves. Gandhi said, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in service. And so through my life, and certainly as CEO of AmeriCorps, I've seen remarkable examples of service in action. And before I go, I just want to share with you 3 quick stories of that service that I saw in action. Starting back at my Boys and Girls Club, I was at the Boys and Girls Club all the time I wasn't in church. And I remember I was 10 years old, and Carol Rawson, who was the director of the Boys and Girls Club, she said I had my summer of my discontent. So I was there all the time, I was bored, and so Carol's like, I'm gonna let this little boy volunteer with the preschoolers. And so I started volunteering with the preschoolers, and I never wanted to go back to my group. So every day, Carol would come down to the preschool and say, Michael, you're only supposed to be here for an hour, you need to go back to your group. And so we struggled, I'd go to my group, then go back to, and so finally, she's like, you can't go here anymore, and I was mad. So at 10 years old, y'all, young people, we didn't have email or anything like that. So I wrote Carol a letter. I was 10 years old, I wrote Carol a letter. I remember this because I have the letter that she wrote back to me. It's on this faded pink paper. And I remember the letter I wrote Carol. I said a few things that if my mother would have known, you know, we had corporal punishment back in those days. So it would have probably, y'all didn't, anyway. So I wrote to Carol, I said, I'd rather be in the streets than at this club, because at the time, Boys and Girls Club's slogan was the place that beats the streets. I told her that one day I wanted to take her job. Is something that I said to Carol, and maybe a few other things. And in the letter that Carol wrote back to me, Carol said a few things, but one when about taking her job, she said something along the lines of, I hope you will take my job one day, and then went on to write all the things that she did about fundraising and youth development, and so this is what she did for the 10-year-old. But the thing that I remember most that Carol wrote back to me is she said, so far as you not being with your group, what you need to know is anybody can be a leader of those that are younger than them. Those that are not as smart as they are. And I'll always remember, those that are not as with it as you are. But she said a true leader leads those that are smarter than themselves, and leads people that makes them smarter. And I want you to be a true leader. Carol went on to become my second mom and made sure that I was leading the way and growing into the leader that she knew that I could be. The second story I want to tell you is about when I was in the White House, we started something called Second Chance Pell. At that time, if you were an incarcerated individual, you couldn't get access to a Pell Grant to go to college because, I don't know, someone thought that was a bad idea. We need to punish those that are incarcerated instead of rehabilitating them. And so for the first time, we were going to use pilot power to give incarcerated individuals an opportunity to get Pell Grants. So we got in a car from the White House and we were going to Jessup, Maryland to launch this program, and we were meeting with incarcerated individuals who had been a part of a pilot program that we were going to grow. And I remember feeling really good about myself that day, and I went in there and I sat down, and they brought in the folks in those orange suits, and we're hearing stories about how for many of them this wasn't only their second chance, this was their first chance, how for the first time they felt proud of themselves, how they finally had something that they could call and talk to their daughter or their son about where they could feel proud, and they knew that when they got out they were going to make something of themselves. And I remember sitting there during that time and not paying attention because I was kind of lost in the moment and thinking, you know, with a small change in the script, when those guards came in and they took those men back to their cells, that could have been me. With a small change, if it wasn't for that faith, that family center, the people that stepped in the way, the people that kept me in my line, that could have been me on the other side of the glass. And it made me think about the fact that President Obama was the first sitting president to visit a federal correctional institution. And when he came out of that federal correctional institution, a group of journalists said to him, Mr. President, why did you go to this prison? Why was this important to you? And he said, I want you to know two things. He said, one, there is a fine line between president and prisoner. The President of the United States said that. Then he said, and it is also because there, but for the grace of God, go I. And I don't know about all of you, but I am standing here because of a whole lot of unmerited grace, not a whole lot of good that I did. And so I will never forget that day. I'll never forget Carol. I'll never forget those words of President Obama. And lastly, I'll never forget a young woman that I met, one of our AmeriCorps foster grandparents, Grandma Elnora. We were in Tennessee. Foster grandparents are 55 years or older. They work in the schools to provide mentoring and coaching. Many of them serve from 55 to 85. I've met them. They are there every single day. And I met with this group of foster grandparents, and I was asking them, why do you do this? What are you doing? And one of them said to me, you know, Mr. Smith, sometimes these kids come to school and they don't have enough clothes, so I go to the Goodwill and I give them clothes. You know, sometimes, Mr. Smith, these kids want hugs, and you know, in our training they said we shouldn't hug them too tight, but I hug those kids, and when I hug them, I also say a little prayer over them, even though they don't know that. Then I start crying. Then Grandma Elnora got and she wanted to talk, and she said, you know, Mr. Smith, you know, my only son was killed. My only child, a son, was killed when he was 19 years old. And when I was getting older, I found myself mourning him all over again because I would never know what it was like to be a grandmother. And she said, so one day I found this flyer for a foster grandparent program. And she said, I've now been doing it for 10 years. And she said, every time I go to a grocery store, some little kid yells out to me, Grandma, Grandma, Grandma. And she said, that's why I show up every single day, because these little kids give me so much more than I could ever give them. So I never forget Grandma Elnora. So I want you all to think, as you go back to your cities, I want you to be like Carol. I want you to pour your heart and your soul into other people's children. I want you to be like Grandma Elnora. I want you to serve not only because you will change lives, but because you will change and enrich your own. And I want you to be like Barack, President Obama. Remember that today you are serving, but tomorrow you could need service. that there's a fine line not only between president and prisoner, but between being clothed and naked, between being full and hungry, between being housed and homeless. So we started today with the words of Dr. King, anybody can be great because anybody can. I don't know if you know the rest of that quote, but he goes on to say, after he says anybody can be great because anybody can serve, he says, you don't need a college degree to serve. You don't need to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You just need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. So I want to thank you for the love and the grace that I saw on display today, and for the love and the grace that you bring to your work and your communities every single day, and the lives that you are changing and transforming because you got in the way and got in good trouble. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the event.
Have you ever been more fired up and ready to serve in your life? Can we give one more? All I could think about when Michael was talking is how nothing feels better than just getting to work. And everybody in this room is getting up and doing the work every single day, and it feels so good. It's so good for you. It's so good for everyone around you. It apparently makes you more dateable, so file that away. And I just, Michael and everyone here, I just want to echo exactly what you said. I don't know about you, I've been scrolling through scary news alerts on my phone all day, every day, and nothing makes me feel better and more excited than being here with people like Michael and all of you. So thank you to Michael. Thank you so much to everyone for being with us tonight. Hope you're joining us again tomorrow for a day of finalist presentations, more workshops capped off with the announcement of this year's All-America City Award winners. I would now like to welcome the director of the All-America City Award program to get tonight's cultural entertainment showcase started. Please give it up for the woman, the legend, Rebecca Trout.
Good evening, everyone. Are you ready to have some fun? All right, let's do it. Well, tonight is our All-America City Cultural Entertainment Showcase. We are going to hear not from 6, but from a last-minute edition 7 of our finalist communities. But before we dive into our performers, do you all remember Doug Croft, who's been helping you all out with your presentations all weekend? All right, well, Doug has a hidden talent. He is an incredible poet, and he is going to kick us off tonight with a couple of his wonderful poems. Doug?